Hey you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Muka and today's video is for all of my beginners out there. If you've ever wanted to start painting with acrylics but you just didn't know how to get started, what kind of supplies to get, what you really needed, what you didn't, this video is for you. But before we get started, if you could please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and what else do the YouTubers say? I don't know what else they say, but if you could please like this video and subscribe, that would really help me out a lot. Also, I will be linking everything in the description down below, so if I'm going too fast, don't worry, it's all going to be listed down below. If it's not the exact same thing, it'll be something very similar. And again, this video is for beginners. I know that there are some things that might be better quality, but for beginners out there, just from my own experience, I don't think that you really need to buy the best of the best until you really figure out what works for you and what doesn't, and what kind of tools you need for the techniques that you want to perfect. So first things first, whether you're painting inside or outside, I highly recommend you guys get a drop cloth. They sell these in packs. There's these, like, I don't know what this is made out of, but it's like really thin. It's almost like surgical, like, gown material, and then they also have like they sell like canvas ones. If you're just starting out, I recommend these. You don't need those heavy duty canvas ones unless you're gonna stick to this. Those probably last a little bit longer than these. These are disposable. Next thing you're gonna need is a canvas to paint on. So with acrylics, you can really paint on anything, mostly anything, but today we're going to be going over my top 2 favorites. So you're going to go to the art store and you're going to look for these little notebooks. They make sure that it's the mixed media kind, because these you can use acrylics on and it won't like warp the paper as much. If you use a paper that's just like computer paper or any kind of paper out there, it's gonna warp the paper as soon as you start painting on it because the acrylic is wet. So these are specifically for acrylic, watercolor, pen and pencil. I really like these for beginners because you can use a bunch of different mediums on it. So you're not like typically bound to one specific media when you buy this. Next thing is canvases. These are my favorite kinds of canvases to recommend to beginners because they come in a pack and they're relatively cheap. You can get these anywhere. You can get these at the art store, at Michael's, at Walmart. I'm pretty sure Target has them too. Again, I'm going to be linking some down below. These specifically are from Michael's craft store. Again, I love these because they come in a pack, 5 pieces. They have tons of different sizes, so just choose one that fits your need or whatever you're wanting to paint. And yeah, so there's a bunch of them, so you're not freaking out about having to make your first piece perfect. You have at least 5 times to try. And again, if you mess them all up, they're super cheap. You can go get another pack. I think these were like $10. They're on sale right now. Okay, next thing is brushes, right? So with beginners, I typically recommend that you start with the pack of brushes that they sell at art stores or at like your craft store, only because if you're just starting out, you don't really know what's going to work for you yet. So I don't really recommend you go out and spend, you know, tens, 20s, hundreds of dollars on paintbrushes if you're gonna end up not using them. So at the art store, they do have like these packs of paintbrushes that you can buy, I think for like, honestly, I think it's like less than $5, and it comes with like 10 or 20 paintbrushes. They're these really like cheapy kind of paintbrushes, but honestly, they do the job. And then once you figure out, like, if you're more of a detailed painter, you might need like the smaller brushes, or if you're more of a large scale painter, you might need the larger brushes. So once you start figuring out what works for you, that's when I recommend that you guys start investing into a little bit more expensive brushes, just because it's an investment and it's going to work for you better in the long run. This is also, it's technically not a brush, it's a sponge. I recommend you guys grab one of these too. Again, just you're starting out, you want to see what works for you. These create really cool textures. And yeah, you just get to see, try out different things. These, I believe they're like 99 cents or something like that. They come in different sizes. Again, highly recommend for beginners to get these to see if you like the result that these create. And then scrapers. There are two different kinds to my knowledge. There's the plastic kind, and then there's the kind that it's wood on the bottom and then metal on top. I believe they have all metal ones too. To start out, guys, just buy the plastic ones. These are super cheap. I think they're less than $1. There's like paint stuff to it. They're really good to like mix paint. You're trying to mix in fluid mediums into your paint to make them different consistencies. I really like using these. Also, they're really good for painting as well, like doing like scrape techniques and stuff like that. These metal ones do last a little bit longer, again, just because they're metal. And in my experience, they're a little bit easier to clean, but again, these are so cheap. And again, for beginners, highly recommend the plastic ones. Again, just because you don't know what works for you yet. If you end up liking the scraping technique on your paint, or if it ends up working for you mixing wise, then I would recommend you then invest in the nicer quality one. Next is paint. So there are different kinds of acrylic paints. And I recommend for beginners to get the store brand because it's cheaper and you're able to experiment with a bunch more colors because again, they're cheaper as opposed to buying the name brand ones that are more archival kind of paints. But again, if you're just starting out, you're figuring out what works for you, get the store brand. It's not the best, but it works pretty well for trying to figure out your style. So yeah, so there's different fluidities to the paint. There's like heavy body, medium body, fluid acrylic. It's a whole world to get into. I'm not going to go into this video, but just know there are different thicknesses to the paint, and that will determine the texture that you're getting when you paint on your canvas or on your paper. So these are just a couple of paints that I bought that are like the cheaper store brands. This is Ulrich, and this is the Blick brand. Typically in the tubes, you're going to get more heavy body or medium body paints, which means that it's a little bit more thicker. Unless you want a really textured canvas, you're gonna want to water these down with a medium. But if you're wanting really smooth paint strokes and things, I would recommend going with a fluid acrylic. They usually come in bottles like this. These are like extremely runny, so you're not really going to need fluid medium to thin this down. Next thing you're going to need is water containers. I recommend just like regular plastic like Solo cups, or just like any cup you have. It could be glass or whatever, but Solo cups usually work well. Don't throw them away after the first use. They dry really well. Just kind of like rinse it out and clean the water out of it. I like using Solo cups because if they get really beat up, I can just toss them. But again, I try to reuse them as much as possible just because I like to produce as least waste as I can. Solo cups work really well if you're using thinner brushes, just because you don't need that much surface area on the top to get the brush in and clean and like swirl it around to get the water. But if you're using like bigger brushes like this one, or if you're using sponges like this, get something wider mouth. That way you have space to dip it in and you're actually reaching the water, as opposed to trying to shove like a paintbrush in here, and it's like just make your life easier. Get something with a wider spout. Next is what you put your paint on. So you can invest in getting a palette. They have like cheaper plastic ones, or like wood ones or metal ones. They have different kinds at the art store. Just look around. But if you're just starting out, you don't want to pay for something like that, just literally use anything. Use a plate, a cardboard box, I don't even know what came in this container. I think I got it at the grocery store. There was like cookies in it or something. Literally anything that you can put your paint in, use that. You don't really need to invest in a palette if you're just starting out. But one thing I do recommend, if you're a beginner, you don't really know how much paint you're gonna need. Like once you start painting more and more, you're gonna know kind of like, okay, if I'm gonna paint this, I need this much paint, or if I'm gonna paint that, I need less paint. So you're gonna be wasting less and less paint as you practice and practice more. So when you start out, you're probably going to pour more paint than you need. And so I recommend getting a container that has a lip, only because when you're done with your painting but you still have paint left over, you can cover it. I just used aluminum foil when I was first starting out. Not the best environmentally friendly thing, but you know, we're doing the best we can. So yeah, use something with a lip so that when you're done, if you still have paint left over, you can use aluminum paper to wrap around it and save your paint for a few more days. Another tip that I have is if you're using a color that you want to save, like if you're not done with your painting and you're gonna paint more tomorrow or the next day, just go ahead and start mixing your colors in like a little Tupperware. These are like at the dollar store. You can get like, I don't know, like a pack of 20 for $1 or something. But yeah, if you're, mix your paint in here, that way there's already a lid, and you can just pop the lid back on there and it'll save really well for a few days. Honestly, even I've had them last up to weeks, but for the best paint, it'll last you a few days. That way you can finish your painting the next day or whatever. The next thing is different mediums to mix your paint with. So I have 3 right here. There's tons and tons, but as a beginner, these are the easiest to get acquainted with. The first one is just like a fluid medium. This one's fluid matte medium. It's by Golden. They also have store brand. This is just the one that I have on hand. This is going to help change the consistency of your paint. So like I said earlier when I was describing the paint, if you're getting a more like heavy or medium body paint, you're gonna need something to water it down with to make it smoother to paint with. You can use water. The only thing with water is after a period of time, it might crack on your, like if you, let's just say I painted a red heart and I diluted it with water, in the future, it might, you might see like little cracking on the heart if you used water. So if you're wanting your painting to last a long time, just invest in a fluid medium, whether this one's matte, but there's like glossy or semi-glossy, there's all kinds of different ones. So use that. The next one, this is an open thinner. I don't really use this much, but I just wanted to put it in the video so that way if you guys run across it, you know what it is. This is used to help your acrylics dry slower. Acrylics dry really, really fast. So if you're taking quite a while to finish your painting, you're gonna notice your acrylic starts developing this little shell over it, just because the air is hitting it, and you're gonna, it's not gonna be as smooth as like the minutes honestly pass. This open thinner, you can mix it into your acrylic paint as you're using it, and it'll help keep it from drying as fast. This next medium is a fabric medium. Again, there's so many mediums you can use, but if you're painting on like on jeans, on tote bags, on denim jackets, get this medium because it'll help your paint last longer on fabric. The next thing you're gonna need is towels, lots and lots of towels. I used to use paper towels, but I found that they were tearing, or I felt bad that I was using so many and I was wasting so much paper. So I made the switch over to these microfiber towels. You can get these like at the craft store or Amazon, Walmart, wherever. But yeah, microfiber towels are your best bet. This one I think I've had for like 2 years. I just keep painting and painting with it, but it's like, it's still good, it's still fluid. once you use them a few times, if they're a little too used up, like for your taste, just pop them in the washer. Not going to be like brand spanking new, but they're good as new. So yeah, you're going to need microfiber towels, so that way when you're painting, you're mixing different colors, you're going to be dipping in your water, you're going to need something to wipe your brush on. Microfiber towels. The next thing you're going to need is a varnish for your paintings. You don't need a varnish, but if you want your painting to last longer, or if you're giving it to someone as a gift, or if you're wanting to sell it, highly recommend a varnish. This will help your painting last longer. It'll keep it from cracking. It'll help keep it from changing color because of light or sun exposure. There's two different kinds. There's liquid varnish and then there's spray varnish, and they come in different finishes. There's like matte, gloss, high gloss, all kinds. So it just depends on the finish that you want. Make sure you read the bottle and you grab the type that you're wanting the finish to be. Make sure that when you're buying varnish, you buy the varnish for acrylic. There are different varnishes for different mediums, so be sure to read the bottle very carefully and make sure that it says acrylic on it. Some of them are going to have mixed mediums, like this one says oil and acrylic, so it's good for both types of paint. So yeah, just be careful when you're buying them. I've worked with both, I love both. You pick your preference, but again, my only tip is make sure you read the bottle and that it is for acrylic paint. The next thing is how you're going to paint. Different people paint different ways. I paint on the ground or on a table flat, but some people can't paint like that. Some people like painting upward. So unless you're hanging it on the wall and painting, you're going to need an easel. So this is a wooden easel. It's really cheap. It's pretty flimsy, but it does the trick for a beginner if you're not really sure what is most comfortable for you. I would recommend just starting out painting flat and seeing if that works for you, but if you're finding that it's really tough for you to work that way and you need to paint upright, I'm gonna link this down below. I think I got it on Amazon. Just buy a cheap one and see how it goes for you, and then you can invest in the more like heavy duty fancy easels. Okay, this last thing is really important, and that is soap. You're going to need soap to wash your brushes. That is the #1 tip that I will give you guys. When you're done painting, please wash your brushes. Do not leave them sitting in the cup with the water. Even if you're just going to come back later that day, it's not good for the brushes if you leave your brushes sitting in water. It like loosens the glue in it and your brushes are not going to last very long. Take care of your brushes, whether they're expensive or cheap. Please wash your brushes. I've used different kinds of soap, but this is the one that's worked best for me so far. This is the Dr. Bronner's Castile soap. It comes in different scents. This one's my favorite. I love the lavender. They also have a scentless one. A little bit goes a long way. Just like 3 little dots cleans all my brushes. And again, just swirl them around on your hand or on a brush mat. And clean them off really well. Make sure there's no paint on them, because once that paint dries on there, it's going to be near impossible to get it off, and then your brush is ruined. You're going to have to get a whole new set or a new brush. And then, very important tip, when you're done washing your brushes, lay them out flat, because again, just like if you leave them sitting in your water, or if you put them back into a cup or a container upward, it's not going to dry well, and you're jeopardizing the glue holding the bristles into the paintbrush, and again, you're going to ruin your brushes faster that way. So when you're done washing your brushes, lay them out flat. I like to use a microfiber towel and just sit them on the counter or wherever and let them dry like that. So yeah, I think that is everything that you need to get started. If I missed anything, I'll probably just put it down in the description below, or I'll make a part 2. But for the most part, I think that's all you guys need to get started if you're wanting to start painting acrylic. And my biggest tip to you guys as beginners is just do it, just go for it. Acrylic is great, again, because it dries really fast. So if you mess up on something, let it dry for a few minutes and then paint over it again. I have tons and tons of paintings that have like 10 different paintings on them because I just either didn't like it or I kept messing up, and I just painted over it. So yeah, don't be scared, experiment. That's the only way you're gonna learn. Try out different paint brushes, scrapers, sponges, and see what works for you, and just kind of have fun with it. Before I go, again guys, please, if you could help me out and like this video, and also subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be releasing more and more videos with tips and tricks for the art world. And please be sure to follow me on Instagram at Art by Muka, TikTok at Art by Muka, Facebook Art by Muka, and my website www.artbymuka.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful, and I'm excited to see what you guys create.